The mystical truths in religions East and West are brought to light again and made relevant for our time by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, world-renowned author and spiritual teacher.
You say we're supposed to do everything that Jesus did. How about the resurrection?
Well, the resurrection is the proving that the last enemy that shall be overcome is death. And it certainly is our final initiation. And the reality of it is that there is no death. But we have to prove that there is no death. The resurrection is a resurgence of God's energy through our being, through our chakras. And it was the drawing forth of the energies of the resurrection from the I Am presence and from the base chakra of the Mother that enabled Jesus to restore life to that temple. He drew forth again the threefold flame of life that had returned to God upon his death on the cross. By the meditation of his soul with the oversoul, or the higher self, he overshadowed his body until he restored that body to life. Now we begin our resurrection by the restoration of consciousness, of joy, of happiness, of love, of truth. And we keep on increasing and accelerating God's consciousness within us until the ultimate victory over death is a natural conclusion of our soul's quest on the path and of our soul's reunion with God. Continuing then these mantras which El Morya has given in the science of the spoken word as the heart, head, and hand decrees, we have a mantra for the resurrection. And it works every day, and as we give this mantra, we can say, I am being resurrected every day. I am overcoming death every day. I am the flame of resurrection, blazing God's pure light through me. Now I am raising every atom from every shadow. I am free. I am the light of God's full presence. I am living ever free. Now the flame of life eternal rises up to victory. I am the flame of resurrection, blazing God's pure light through me. Now I am raising every atom from every shadow. I am free. I am the light of God's full presence. I am living ever free. Now the flame of life eternal rises up to victory. This little mantra is accompanied by the visualization of white light coming through us, rising through us as a white fire, pulsating from beneath our feet through our consciousness, coming through our chakras. It is an energy field that can restore from sickness to health, from depression to wholeness, from anxiety to joy. There is an alchemy in this mantra and in all mantras whereby, in the spoken word, as in no other form of meditation, misuses of God's energy are transmuted. This process of transmutation means that each time we give mantras that contain the name of God, I am, we are actually balancing karma. Karma is simply the substance of God's energy which we have qualified either correctly or incorrectly, so that there is good karma and bad karma, negative karma or positive karma. The energy which we want to requalify with light is the energy misqualified with darkness. When we give these mantras, increments of that energy which is stored in a force field comparable to the subconscious is returned to the great causal body or the spheres of consciousness which surround the I Am presence. Mantras, then, are not given simply for the alteration of a state of consciousness, which they do accomplish, but more importantly, they are always involved in the forgiveness of sin, or what we may call the balance of karma. Therefore, a mantra on the resurrection is for the removal of the consciousness of death. More than we realize, we are burdened by the energies of death on a day-to-day basis. Fear is the beginning of death. Doubt in oneself is the beginning of death. The condemnation or the belittlement of the self is the murdering of the self and its potential to be free. Freedom then comes through this resurrection flame.
Are you saying it would be possible to end physical death?
The termination of death begins in consciousness. Since death is not real, death is not manifesting now. What we see as death is simply the laying down of the body temple by the soul, who then is journeying to other planes of consciousness or other mansions in the Father's house. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. And I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am ye may be also. The mansions are planes of consciousness, and there are many planes of consciousness. The soul journeys to these planes both after the transition that is called death and during sleep at night. Our souls may depart our body temples and go to other places and other schoolrooms for a learning experience. Death, then, is the illusion of the cessation of life, and it is only real to those who believe that our life is actually in the body. But the life is in the flame in the heart and in the soul, and these move on consecutively as the path of acceleration continues here and hereafter. Now, ultimately, the demonstration of the Ascension will mean the cessation of even that laying down of the physical body. But we have much more immediate goals than the overcoming of that form of death. Our immediate goal is the resurrection of life as it ought to be lived on earth today.
What about physical healing?
Physical healing comes about the same way, through the use of meditation and the science of the spoken word, and also through the proper diet that is most important. We can see that light in our body temples brings about a manifestation of healing. Since so many physical conditions are caused by mental and emotional problems, the healing of the mind and the emotions, and the erasing by the violet flame of records in the subconscious is often all that is required to eliminate physical suffering.
So the first thing you seek to change is consciousness, right?
Well, we go to cause behind effect. That doesn't mean to say we don't call upon the medical profession and use medicines and whatever is necessary, surgery, etc., for the correction of conditions in the body. But ultimately, we seek to manifest the victory where the mind of God within us controls the manifestation in matter.
What happens after the resurrection?
Well, you'll recall that after Jesus' resurrection, he came back. He spent 40 days with the disciples. He gave them instruction in the upper room, and his final words, "Tarry ye in the city of Jerusalem until ye be endued with power from on high." And that power from on high was going to be the descent of the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost. We talked about the concept of ascending every day, every hour. The ascension is the acceleration of consciousness. It is actually the increase of the vibratory rate of the electrons as they whirl about and through the nucleus of the atom. The concluding mantra, then, in the Heart, Head, and Hands series is a mantra of the Ascension. As soon as we begin to give it, we are accelerating the white light in our auras, preparing for that ultimate soul reunion at the conclusion of this life or our next life of incarnation. This is how it goes. I am ascension light, victory flowing free, all of good won at last for all eternity. I am light, all weights are gone, into the air I raise. To all I pour with full God power my wondrous song of praise. All hail, I am the living Christ, the ever-loving one. Ascended now with full God power, I am a blazing sun. The visualization for this mantra is a sphere of white light that now envelops the entire form, the entire being. When we say, I am the living Christ, we are affirming, God in me is the living Christ, and that Christ which was in Jesus is now manifesting in me as the fullness of the threefold flame in my heart. Visualizing the self as a blazing sun gives us the key to the alchemy whereby Jesus disappeared from their midst, whereby he could come into the upper room right through the wall. That alchemy is simply the rearrangement of atoms and molecules of the physical body so as to pass through the atoms and molecules of the wall. Now the day is going to come in the not-too-distant future when people on earth
will be doing this without difficulty. And it is amazing how quickly this will happen as they begin to understand the science of the Word. Now, when I say the science of the Word, I'm talking about Word with a capital W. I'm talking about the Word incarnate. I'm not just talking about the words that come through the throat chakra in these decrees. I'm talking about the Word as the very energy of creation which we express when we give a mantra.
The goal of all of this is immortality, right?
And that goal is something that is very near and dear to the people of every religion in the world. Whether it's called soul liberation or ascension or nirvana, it is the same thing. It's what Paul said. This corruptible must put on incorruption. This corruptible must put on incorruption. Paul said that as the very equation of his being, bursting from within. His soul was crying out. He knew this as the goal of life, and that is the eternal quest of the overcomers. He said, this mortal must put on immortality. This which is temporal in time and space, this soul which is my option to opt for eternity, must accelerate, must return to the source whence it came, the I Am Presence.
Thank you very much.
This is a presentation of the Summit Lighthouse, an international spiritual organization dedicated to universal enlightenment. Founded in 1958, the Summit Lighthouse is a beacon of truth to thousands worldwide and a leader in New Thought spirituality.